Last season we covered 20 builds with Void 3.0 completely dominating the Destiny universe, but we're back with the new Season 7 in-class build playlist, so today I introduce you to the very first new build of the season, introducing Solar 3.0. Now this is a new Titan solar build that allows you to spam abilities infinitely, causing mass destruction to surrounding adds nearby while triggering health regeneration, increased weapon DPS, and just allowing you to obliterate everything in your path. This new build will feature a mixture of the top best builds, fun builds, and broken builds in Destiny 2 Season 17 or Season of the Haunted, and as always this playlist will conclude when Season 18 starts. Now before we get straight into the build, I will quickly mention that this video is being sponsored by USMMO. They sell Destiny 2 Silver at a much cheaper rate on Steam, so if you're interested in that, then you can find them linked down below, along with my discount code. And now guys, opening up the new playlist are the Titans. Be sure to rate, comment, sub, and of course share. And now, let's throw some hammers. So kicking off the first build, we have the new Titan Solar Ability build. With this build, you'll be using your abilities to buff your other abilities while making the cooldown insanely fast, allowing you to spam all three abilities over and over, which are providing multiple benefits to make you stronger in endgame PvE. Now with the new Solar 3.0 update, this build allows you to create multiple variants of the build. By this I mean you can use the exact same setup in terms of solar aspects, fragments and mods, but you can use different exotics to slightly change the way the build works. With this build, all the exotics that work well that you can use are Lorely Splendor Helm, Phoenix Cradle, the Path of the Burning Steps, Severance Enclosure, and Armentarium. All of these exotics will make the build really good in endgame PvE, but the exotic we're going to be using with this build today is the Heart of Inmost Light, and we will get to that soon as we set up the build because this thing is just so good with chaining abilities and buffing those abilities. So the way you'll use this build is firstly run up to an enemy and use your throwing hammer melee. If the enemy is killed, this will spawn 3 solar elemental wells while giving you the radiant buff, roaring flames, empowered barricade and grenade. Then you'll pick up those 3 solar wells and the hammer that you threw while standing in the sunspot to grant you Soul Invictus ability energy for all the abilities while instantly recharging your grenade if you used it, and at the same time give you constant health regeneration. From here you'll go around chaining abilities one after another, which will increase the stacks of roaring flames and allowing you to output more DPS. Honestly, this build is no joke, but it doesn't compete with last season's Void 3.0 build, but as a build that can provide healing effects, it's definitely a good build to use for endgame PvE. Now getting straight into the setup of this build, starting with a loadout, you can use anything you prefer, but you will want to change the loadout to suit the activity you're playing. So for me, going into a Legend Lost sector, I'm using the Arbalist for anti-barriers, a Funnel Web SMG for the overloads, and a Linear Heavy for DPS. But I will be using my energy weapon and my solar abilities for killing adds. For the subclass, we're running the Hammer of Soul, Sunbreaker for the Solar 3.0, but you can use the Burning Maul if you want. The good thing about these 3.0 builds is that you can really use any super with the build, as it doesn't change how the build works, but for spamming abilities, I would use a Rally Barricade as it has a faster cooldown, then a Throwing Hammer because you can pick that straight back up after using it, and if using it on an ad, it will activate the Cure effect. This means that you'll start to regenerate health with the hammer, which you can throw and pick it up at any time. So you will always have a hammer to throw as long as you don't yeet it off in the distance with bad aim, like I do often. But the grenade you want to use are the solar grenades. The actual solar grenade I mean. Or you can use the healing grenade. Both are good choices. The aspects we have are Soul Invictus, Solar Ability Final Blows, Super Impacts, and defeating scorched targets creates sunspots. And standing in the sunspots will make your abilities regenerate faster. The second aspect we're using is the Roaring Flames, so that our final blows with solar abilities will increase the damage they do, stacking up to 3 times. The melee ability may feel a little weak in harder content, but if you can keep that buffed, you shouldn't have a problem getting kills with it. Now fragments, we use an Ember of Blistering to get grenade energy when defeating enemies with solar ignitions, caused from enough scorched stacks. Ember of Singeing for our class ability to regen faster when we scorch enemies. Ember of Torches, where our hammer attacks will make us and nearby allies radiant, which then means we get increased damage to enemies. And then we're using Ember of Benevolence, where applying these buffs will grant us increased ability regen. With this full setup though, we will be running the Heart of Inmost Light. This reads, using an ability empowers the other 2. Empowered means abilities have faster regen and do more damage. This paired with the Solar 3.0 setup is no joke. It's literally infinite abilities and stacking damage buffs on top of each other. Really effective in PvE, although it is quite hard to use the build. Now in terms of what mods to use, we'll be going with Solar Elemental Wells, specifically to maximize our ability cooldowns. So the first one you'll want is the Bountiful Wells. This will allow mods that spawn elemental wells to now stack so that we can spawn more wells from the same source. We'll be running the Well of Ordnance, where picking up a Solar Elemental Well will grant us grenade energy, but we'll have 2 of these mods on as they stack. You can put on a Well of Life if you feel that you don't need the rapid cooldown, but for the next one we have is Melee Well Maker. That is to spawn a Solar Well on melee kills, which you will do with the hammer, but we'll be running this twice to spawn multiple wells with Bountiful Wells. As for the normal mods, starting in the helmet we have our ammo finders, then in the gauntlets you want impact induction and your champion mod, then in the chest we have our damage resist mods as well as the double one from the artifact, absolution for reduced ability cooldown when picking up orbs in the leg armor, along with our ammo scavenger mod, and then finally in the class we have our ability cooldown mods that you might want to use. Now I will go over the artifact in a second as I haven't got all the mods unlocked yet, but with these stats, you want to max out Discipline, Recovery and Resilience. Now Resilience at tier 10 will give you a 40% damage reduction, which is huge. And I'm not talking just Titans. Max out Resilience on every character because they made it so much better. So back to the artifact, the mods I'd recommend using with this build are Withering Heat, Classy Restoration and the Solar Overload Grenades. So this build is the first Titan solo build I've created, but I am going to explore more with the other exotics and a combination of different aspects and fragments, because there's so much you can do with the new Solar 3.0 subclass update, as you can mix up all those different combos, which is one thing I really like about 3.0 subclasses. Now I know that Solar 3.0 isn't as cracked as Void 3.0 at the release, but this build is still a really good build worth using in PvE, and not just PvE. With a few slight changes you can use this in PvP as well. I can honestly see this build being really annoying in PvP with the burning effects and the healing grenades, but it can't be more annoying than stasis on release, right? But we'll see how the new Solar builds will perform over the next couple of weeks, because they are bound to have buffs and nerfs soon. Now guys, that there is your first new Titan build of the series. Next, you should check out the new Season 17 build playlist for more upcoming builds this season, as we are going to be covering most of these build combos here on the channel. And I do have a lot of fun build ideas I want to go through this season, with not just new builds, but updating some of the old classic ones as well. So be sure to stick around here on the channel if you want to see more builds like this, as they will be uploaded every week. Stay tuned, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in part 2 on Saturday. Peace out.